From the Republic of Samsung, this is the Seoul Podcast. I'm King Sejong, reminding you that Korea is not in Southeast Asia, dummy. And here is your host, Joe McPherson.
And welcome to the Seoul Podcast. This is Joe. Thank you for joining us today. I want to ask you before we start to subscribe, like and subscribe if you're watching us on video, and just subscribe any way you can. And also, if you feel like it, you can become a patron on our Patreon at patreon.com/Seoul Podcast for just $5. You can get all of our back episodes, which there are a lot, going all the way back to 2008. And we have a really fun guest today. We have Emma Kalka.
Hello.
Which, to me, this is great because I've ever since coronavirus started holding us up into our apartments, I have this whole series of news set up. I do like, okay, there's this thing Google does. You go, okay, Google, and good morning. Oh no, I hope it didn't set off my phone. And it'll do this whole lineup of different news, and I have KBS WORLD on there, and Emma Kalka is the person that ends up being the voice of KBS WORLD. It is fascinating to have you on the show today.
Yeah, I'm excited. I was talking to Sean the other day, and I'm like, I have a bit of a habit of talking my way onto podcasts. You can ask Rob and Eugene about how many times I talked my way onto Cafe Soul. And I was like, why, you guys need to have me. And the next thing I know, you're messaging me, and I'm like, yay, it worked.
Yeah, it works. It works. Word gets around. Yeah. Hey, I'm a podcast slut too.
It's fine. I can't help it.
So anyway, yeah, if you listen to KBS WORLD, you can hear Emma talk the news, and you have a good anchor voice. It works.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever read the news. I've been working in the media industry
in general or on radio.
Just reading it. I've always been a writer and an editor. When I was in university, my journalism degree is in print journalism. So focusing on newspaper and magazine, a little bit of PR on the side, but I had to take one broadcasting class and that wasn't even for my major, it was for my minor, which was performance studies. And I remember doing this and learning how to do everything in the radio station. I can't remember how to do any of it now, but
I was the other way around. I was a broadcasting major, and then I had to take some journalism courses, and I had to learn AP style and everything. But
gotta love AP.
And I worked at a local TV station. I worked my way up to weekend director, and that was an octopus job, but it was such a rush doing those shows. I had a lot of fun when doing radio for that class, but the professor was like, maybe you should stick with writing. Because I guess in college, maybe my voice changed, or I don't know. He was just like, yeah, I can tell you're not a broadcaster. You're a journalist. You're a writer, reporter. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll just cross that one off. You know what? On the other hand, the concept of what is a radio voice has changed over the years, especially NPR. The millennial generation going through NPR has changed what the voice is. And I think podcasting itself has changed what a voice is, and YouTube as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I know I've done radio in the past. I freelanced for 2 years, so... And I've worked in media in Korea, English language media in Korea since 2008.
Wow.
Yeah, that's about right. So I've run the gamut. I've been on Arirang Radio. I've been on Arirang TV. That was actually my first real media job here in Korea in 2000. Oh wait, no, that was 2009. Sorry, 2009. And then I've been on TBS, and then Sean Lim, one of my former coworkers from Arirang TV, he moved to KBS. So I was actually on KBS World Radio as an interviewee a few years back in like 2013. Back when I was working at Korea Herald at the time, and I was in the middle. I just finished this huge 21-part series on underground Korean hip hop. And so he was like, we have like hip hop expert Emma Kalka. And I'm like, I'm not an expert. Stop calling me an expert, because then I'm going to
I hate that. I hate being called an expert.
I hate it, because I'm like, I know that there are other people out there who know way more about this than I do. I just happen to be doing it right now. And I always get worried. And then I've been on TBS. And so I've done all sorts of things, but none of it was ever news reading, which you have to have like a very distinct voice for.
Yeah. And I've done that for radio before. Not in Korea, but I've done that for radio. Yeah.
Yeah. They were, because I started out, the way I got hired for KBS, it was actually one of my old coworkers from Arirang TV is the main producer over there. And he called me up to fill in for somebody who was going to be on vacation, I think, this past December. And he was like, by the way, we're going to have 2 full-time positions opening up around February, and we would really like to consider you for one of them. There's features and news. And I was like, oh, feature. I would love to do features. I've always done news, but I love feature. Like, that's why I do Groove, because Groove lets me do more feature type articles. And I was like, I want to be the features. And then they ended up hiring me for news. And they're like, you have to read the news every day. I'm like, I've never done that before, right? And they're like, no, you'll pick it up.
But you get good at it. You get good at it. Yeah. You sound like you've been doing it for a long time.
Well, thank you. I've only been doing it since December.
Well, I started listening in March, and I was really surprised to hear your voice on there. I went, oh, hold on. She's on my friends list. I know her.
I know her.
And that's how it was. Yeah. It's like,
I feel like people see my name somewhere, or they'll hear my name and they're like, wait, I think I know her from somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just all over the place.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was actually really surprised how easy it came. And that was probably just because I was doing it. I do it every day. So Monday through Friday, every day we go down to the studio, and we record it about 45 minutes before it actually goes on air. Which makes it a little bit easier. I think if I were doing it live, I would be like,
they do it live. Arirang Radio. Everything's done live on that. Yeah.
Because when I first started doing it, we have to stop a lot, because I would make a mistake. I'd blow up. I'm like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, no, you can't do that. You need to get used to just stopping.
Stop.
Or keep going.
Yeah.
Because if you make too many mistakes and you keep stopping and you say stuff or make a noise, then if there ever comes a time when somebody does need to do something live, we're not going to use you, because you're going to make a noise.
Yeah. You learn in Korea, when you make a mistake, you stop and you go, 한반도. 한반도.
Yeah.
One more time.
It's actually, I finally have gotten that into my system now. So we were recording today, and my voice was going out a little bit today. So my voice completely went out, and I just like stopped, and I'm like, sorry. And then we picked it right back up. Good. Okay. So that's how it goes in there. So how did you get involved in bangsong? We call it bangsong in Korea, broadcasting in Korea in the first place. I'm sure a lot of listeners would love to know that. Honestly, I kind of lucked into it.
But what was your luck? I think most people luck into it. What was your path?
Yeah. Well, I mean, because, I've been doing this for a really, really long time. When compared to, other people who are in Korea. There's still other people who have done it a lot longer than I have, that I've learned working here as long as I have. But I think it was back around, it was about 2009. I had been working at a PR firm, and very abruptly got laid off because they realized very quickly that they were paying me way too much money for what I was actually doing. And I could have told them that. they asked me how much I wanted. I gave them my high number and they were like, okay. And I'm like, what? You sure about that? I speak no Korean. I think they thought that I would magically become fluent in Korean after like 2 months and I could start translating stuff. And I'm like, I can't become fluent in Korean if you're not going to A, give me time to go to Korean classes, or B, maybe pay for them because they're expensive.
Yeah.
At least the ones that I was looking at back then. But anyway, so I remembered from an event that I helped plan that that's how I discovered Arirang TV. I'm like, oh, well, there's an English language.
Oh, you didn't know that?
Yeah, like they came and covered it. And all the English language media came. So
I just remember my first week in Korea, I was just flipping through channels on the TV in my foreigner ghetto apartment. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, there's English.
Yay!
And I'd watch it in the morning, and there was Stephen Revere and Lisa Kelly teaching Korean in the morning.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I remember that. I worked with Lisa for a little bit on a radio show.
I was so starstruck when I first met each one of them individually. And the most surreal thing was I was doing a show with Lisa, and Lisa was driving me somewhere, dropping me off somewhere in a car. And on the way there, she gave me a private Korean lesson.
Ooh.
Think about how surreal that is. I used to watch her on TV teaching me Korean, and then I get a private lesson from her. That
would have been like, is this really happening?
I know. I was like, I'm just absorbing this moment.
Yeah. But, well, thankfully, because of that event, I kind of got contacts with a lot of the different English language media. And so I was like, okay. So I just kind of started sending out resumes. And then one day I came across a job ad for Arirang TV News. They were looking for a copy editor. Mm-hmm. And they wanted somebody who had news experience, who had a journalism degree, who knew what they were doing. And I'm like, hey, that's me. I got a journalism degree. I hadn't actually worked in journalism since I left college. So it'd been I've been out of the game for about a year and a half. Mm-hmm. But, went in, did the editing test. 3 weeks later, they were like, congratulations, you got a job. And I'm like, why did it take you 3 weeks to decide? Usually it's a lot faster than that. You scared me. I almost took another job at Korea Times because of you. But yeah, then that's kind of how I got into it. I just answered a job ad. And
where do you find these job ads?
That one, I think that one was up on Seoul Global Center. They used to have a really good job board that was jobs that were not teaching English.
Yeah.
And back then it was really good. I don't know how it is anymore.
Global Center was really good. I think it might have faded away lately.
Yeah. And back then there weren't as many people in the English language media industry. It was all kind of just the same people rotating around. Still, in a lot of ways, it is still a lot of the same people just kind of rotating around.
Yeah, it is.
So, I mean, I'm actually currently working with 3 people that I worked with at Arirang are now on my team at KBS. And it's like, wow, what do you know? One of them is now my boss. I'm like, he terrifies me.
You see them around.
At Arirang TV.
That's funny. He's a great
boss. Yeah, so and then it was kind of like once you get in the game, it's really easy because you meet everybody else at all the other publications.
True.
And a lot of times when a job opens up, before they even post it publicly, they'll go to like people that already work there and they're like, hey, can you suggest people, this so-and-so's leaving, we need to hire another copy editor. Can you suggest people, get us resumes? And I think that's how I got my job at Yonhap News, actually.
Very cool.
One of my former coworkers at Korea Herald, he was playing John Power. He was planning to leave Yonhap and knew that I had just been let go from Korea Herald. Because again, why I keep working at places that don't have money? Oh my God. They needed to downsize their copy editor section, and I was unfortunately the first person whose contract was up for renewal at the time.
Last person hired, first person fired.
It wasn't. It drove me crazy. It wasn't even that. It was just like, okay, well, whose visa is coming up for renewal first? Emma. all right, bye, Emma. And like some guy who had just started working there like 2 months before gets to stay. And I've been working there for 3 years. I'm like,
it sucks how it works.
I wrote so many great articles for you guys. Like,
in my
I
experience,
got
it's
Drunken Tiger that you had been after for like 5 years. I got that, and then you're gonna.
Yeah, it sucks.
So,
It seems like the harder you work for a company, the more likely you will be the first laid off.
yeah, that's kind of how it worked.
Yeah, I worked for a company one time, and all of us that were finished with the project on time were laid off. The ones that were late got to stay. Like, oh, okay, next time
that's fine.
I'll make sure to just laze around and not finish the project.
Mm-hmm. It's either that or the better you are, the more work you get saddled with.
That too.
The better job you do, the more like, okay, take this project and now this one and then that one, and you're like, I'm dying.
You're the one person who does all the work on the school group project.
Yeah, that was me too. I was I was such a an overachiever in high school.
Oh, an overachiever. No, I was a sucker. No, I was a sucker because if it was the sorority girl in class, he says, "Could you just edit my tape for me? Edit my project?" Because
I'd be like, okay,
like,
sure.
Okay. Now I wasn't a sucker very often. I think after the third time she did that, I was like, "No, you do your own stuff.
You do your. I don't have time for this.
I heard of doing your work for you."
Yeah, no, I just wanted to be a part of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I wanted to be valedictorian, and then I wanted to be on student council, and I wanted to be on the newspaper staff, and
I wanted those things too. I just never got them.
wanted dance team,
awesome.
And I wanted to do theater, and then I think I did just any club that my school, and I went to a really small school, but any club that they had, I'm pretty sure I joined.
That's amazing.
For at least some time. I was in Spanish club, chemistry club. I don't even know why I sucked at chemistry, but it was another club to put on my resume. What do you do
in chemistry club? I mean, is there a secret handshake or something?
No, we would just have pizza parties at lunch. Like, I don't even know what the purpose of chemistry club was now that I think about it. I don't think we actually did anything very chemistry-wise. Yeah, I did student council for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. I was editor-in-chief of my high school newspaper. I was on dance team for 5.5 years.
We're still in high school. We're talking about everything.
Yeah, and then actually in college, if I hadn't had to work as much, I probably would have. I know my freshman year, I very much was, because my first semester, my parents were like, we don't want you to work your first semester. We want you to just get settled, because college is going to be a lot harder than high school. There's going to be a lot more homework. The homework's going to be harder. You know, we want you to kind of have that first semester off to settle in. Mm-hmm. And then you can get a part-time job. And then you have to get a part-time job, because we're going to stop paying, for your car and your phone and all of that. And you got to pay for all that. Yeah. So I did as much as, I think I did a lot my freshman year. And then I started working part-time, and it's like, I can't do everything.
No,
but I was still newspaper staff, yearbook staff. I think I was in anime club for a while.
That's great.
Yeah, my friends got me into cosplay. So then it was like spending all of my spare money and time making costumes.
Oh my goodness. You're a nerd.
I'm a bit of a nerd.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. So you got into everything, and I think that the varied experiences prepare you for journalism. I think so. I mean, in broadcasting and journalism courses, what I'm talking about, degrees, they require you to take a very liberal, and I mean in the sense of varied types of coursework in order to get.
Oh yeah.
Which is how I fell into Korean history, was to get for my degree. So I needed the credits, and turned out it was amazing. And I got into, that's what got me interested in Korea, was falling into Korean history. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I knew absolutely nothing about Korea when I came here. I just wanted to live abroad and travel. And I was working on a daily newspaper, a small market daily newspaper in Cape Coral, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And I was making $10 an hour.
Which was a lot at one time in our lives.
Yeah, but even then, like, I wasn't even making enough to, like, get my own place. I didn't even, like, because my family moved to Florida while I was still in college. So they didn't even have a bedroom for me.
Oh, no.
After I graduated, I went to school in Arkansas, and I moved down to Florida with them, to be with them. And I was living on my parents' couch. I didn't even have a bed or a bedroom. My stuff was in suitcases. Like, half of it was in my sister's bedroom and half of it was in my brother's. And like, okay, well, I want to get my own place. And I was looking at places and I'm like, damn, I can't even, if I want to, even with like a roommate, if I wanted to get a roommate or find a place with a roommate, I was still going to have to get a second job. And I mean, because this was South Florida, right before the prime mortgage bubble popped.
Yeah.
So it was really expensive. And I was like, God, how am I going to do this? But a lot of my friends from college ended up in Korea teaching English. And my mom was a corporate recruiter at the time for Chico's Worldwide. Mm-hmm. And she's like, you know what, as a
You're
lot
talking about the Mexican restaurant?
No, the clothing company.
Oh, sorry.
Chico's, White House Black Market, Soma. Yeah, it's like mom clothes.
Oh, okay.
Chico's is mom clothes. White House Black Market was like the younger people clothes.
I'm so out of touch with America right now. I just don't.
But I remember her telling me
I'm thinking of Chi-Chi's. I was thinking of Chi-Chi's Mexican. Not Chico's.
They're wrong. I mean, Chico's, I understand why you might go there, but I'm like, it was a clothing company. But I remember mom telling me, like, a lot of recruiters, they'll actually they like seeing that you have experience abroad. So if you go and teach English for a year in a foreign country and then come back, she's like, I would be more likely to choose that person because I'm like, oh, they've got, it looks good, I guess, on a resume.
Wow. Is that really true? Because I've heard the other thing is a lot of them think that you living abroad is like taking time off from your career.
I mean, I think it might have been true at the time because this was back in like 2007. And I think it was really before that big movement where everybody kind of went abroad to teach English, and it was still kind of like, oh, this is like a cool thing that you do for a year and then you come back and
I watched.
And I also had a little
teachers here. Yes.
Yeah, I remember right after I came just before like the flood of I think English.
Like 2008 to 2010 was a big rush.
Yeah. I came in 2007 and then I got out of teaching English in 2008.
Wow, that was fast. That's good.
Well, again, I had a specialty that they needed, working in English language media. There were a lot of places are looking for people with experience. Mm-hmm. And at the time, there weren't a whole lot of people with substantial experience actually working in media.
Yeah.
Or with recent or current experience. I did teach English for almost a year. But that was still like fresh enough that they were like, oh, and plus that whole wonderful thing where if you work on your university newspaper, a lot of places consider that as actual work experience, not.
Wow.
So, and at least with my program, it was definitely work experience. Like, my professor treated us exactly like we were going to be working at a newspaper, like a normal newspaper elsewhere. Mm-hmm. Which, meant sometimes you went home and cried.
Oh.
and then you just picked yourself back up and you're like, I'm going to do better. He didn't have an ABC grade scale. His grade scale was publishable with some editing, publishable with major editing, and not publishable. That was his grade scale. And so he really, it could have come up, I think, I don't want to say weaker people, but people who are not cut out for journalism would very quickly make their way out.
Mm-hmm.
But he wasn't being harsh for harsh sakes. He was being very realistic, and he wanted to make sure that his graduates, when they left and went out into the real world of journalism, they were ready. That they didn't get there and they're like, oh my God, what is this madness? So, you were ready to work 15 hours a day.
And you really want that. You really want that.
Yeah. And a lot of media places, they don't want to have to spend a bunch of time training you. They want to hire somebody, even if they're fresh out of college, who knows what they're doing, and that they can, you can do some mentoring along the way and help improve, but they don't want to have to sit down for like the first 6 months and hold your hand and be like, okay, here's this source, go call them. You need to call them. I remember my first job at the newspaper, I think after the first week, I was no longer getting assigned stories.
Oh my.
All of my stories, I was just out coming up with my own stories. And
so that's rough. That's rough. It's much easier when you have a news desk that actually like assigns stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is really strange. I was I think definitely in college when I first started out in the journalism program, and I would still get assigned stuff here and there, but right from the get-go, I was always very used to having to come up with my own stories and go out and find my own stories. And even that first newspaper, they would throw me, there would be every now and again, they'd be like, oh, well, this is coming up, you need to write this. Cause I was the health and education beat.
Oh my, that people did not. No, the news station I worked at, they hate, that was the one no one wanted.
Oh my God. School board meetings. Oh, they were the worst. 'Cause I would have to cover the school board meetings, and they start at like 7. So, and they run for like 2 hours, and then you have to write the article after the meeting and turn it in by our print deadline. Like we sent to the printers at midnight every night. So the paper, we were a morning paper. So I would have to like furiously like get it there, get it in, because, you have to give the copy editor time to look it over. Yeah. Then it goes to layout and, but I hated school board meetings. I hated covering them. I hated those days. I think one day I unfortunately had some school event that I had to cover that started at 7 a.m. So I started my day at 7 a.m. and then I had the school board meeting after that. So I've been working for 12 hours and and the school board meeting is just starting. And I think I worked until like 10. I clocked out at 10 finally.
Oh my.
But thankfully I could write them from home. So when I had school board meetings or something that happened after office hours, I could go cover it, and then I could go home, finish writing it, send it off, and that was fine. I didn't actually have to be in the office to write them. I think that's why I love journalism so much, because I was hardly ever in the office. Always out,
that is good. That is good. You're
always,
out. Yeah,
doing interviews or covering events, school events. I think I was doing a series on the local hospital healthcare system. They were celebrating like 30 years or something. And I went over to look at the new OR that they were building in the main hospital near us. And we're just walking around the OR, and me and the director and the photographer, and she's like, oh, they're doing a knee replacement surgery right now. Do you want to see? And I'm like, hell yeah. And so like we get scrubbed up, and like this poor photographer is looking so queasy. And I'm just like, yeah, Sitting there like, oh, 'cause we're behind glass. We're not actually in there.
Yeah,
but,
you're not smelling it.
Yeah, but I still had to like scrub up, and I'm like, I've never seen a surgery before. This is awesome. That's when I was like, yeah, I think I was meant to be a journalist.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. So this transitioned you not only in other parts of the media, but to one of our English magazines, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, Groove.
The Groove.
Groove Korea. I think we're now the only English language magazine.
I think you're the only one left standing. I've worked for every one of them, even the ones before that wave. Yeah.
Yeah, I've written for 10. I actually wrote a cover article for 10 way back in the day. One of my a guy I went to school with. He's still here, I believe. David Caruth. He and I went to college together at John Brown
way.
University. Yeah, I knew him. When I was when I was assistant editor on my university newspaper, he was one of our study abroad columnists. So once a week, yeah, that's right. That was my junior year, his senior year. Yeah. So yeah, once a week I was like emailing him like, David, where's your column?
Oh, wow. Well, then he ended up being like one of the editors of 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then he asked me to write a cover article on Jisan Rock Festival for them one summer. I want to say it was 2009, maybe.
I was working for them then. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my first ever cover article.
That's amazing.
I got to go to Jisan that was the first time I got to go to a rock festival for free. And I was like, oh, you have created a monster. I am going to be writing all of the music festival articles if it means I can get free tickets.
I remember you doing this now. I remember these conversations. I think I remember seeing online like some talk about that.
Yeah, that was me.
Oh, okay.
The connections.
I went to restaurants.
I went to concerts and music festivals.
Yeah.
And then I think it was in 2011, I wrote a couple articles. I started writing articles here and there for Groove. Mm-hmm. I think Summer Walker was the music editor at the time. And that's who I mostly talked with because I was writing music articles.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And then who was it? Chance Dorland, I think. He was the music editor, but he was leaving.
Yeah.
And he wanted me to replace him. So he invited me to a couple of Groove meeting events, introduced me to the editor-in-chief. It was a husband and wife team at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's who I knew.
No, he brought me in because he wanted me to replace him as music editor. And I was like, I want to be a music editor. I think, where was I working at the time?
It might have been Herald.
No, I think I was at Yonup.
Okay.
Yeah, I was I at Yonup? I believe.
There's something about that time. It was a really heady time around 2008 through 2012, 2013, 2014. I think just this span of years was a very heady time for publishing, blogging, radio, TV. It was really in the English language world because we just had this boom of immigrant. I won't say immigrants, but people coming, foreigners coming into the country, and there was content, and there was there were eyeballs and ear holes.
Yeah, this was actually 2015 because I just started working at Yonup, which is why I was interested, because when I was at the Herald, part of their thing when they hire somebody as a copy editor, you're also expected to write articles as well. So I got a lot of opportunity. I had too much opportunity to write articles for the Herald, and I didn't have any time to write for Groove.
Yeah.
And so
I was in charge of the food section. I was food editor for a while, and that was...
I feel like everybody has been an editor at Groove at some point.
I think that's like a rite of passage if you've been an editor for Groove in one aspect or another.
So, but they
I
ended
liked
up
our time,
not.
but it just burned out after 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah. They ended up not making me the music editor. I was a senior music writer. And I think one of the editors in chiefs was in charge. So I did that for a year. And then finally in 2016, they were like, okay, you're the music editor. Cause they finally realized it was too much work. And I'm like, let me do it.
Okay.
So I took over as music editor in 2016. And then when I left Yonup in 2018, that's when I took over as editor in chief.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I think we had been without an actual editor in chief for maybe a year before that. That's kind of when everything.
I think I heard about that.
Yes. Yeah. Oh man, I did not know what I was getting into.
You're still going. Groove is still going.
Yeah, we're still going. We're fighting to keep in print. Right now it's a really tricky time because there's really not a lot to write about. As weird. I mean, events.
Oh yeah, COVID. Yeah, it's kind of difficult.
Yeah, because of COVID. So events are canceling, concerts are canceling. We had our covers articles were lined up from spring. We had everything set. I think March was going to be, every year in March we do an international school guide.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to do that. We're going to do that for March. April was going to be, I forgot what April was going to be, but April was going to be something cool. May was going to be the wine festival, the Kiwi Wine Festival. June was going to be Pride. July, August was going to be our Comic-Con cover, which is my favorite one to write.
We were supposed to go to Comic-Con. We're coming out with a comic book, but even that got delayed. So
yeah, it's actually, they canceled it.
They canceled it. Yeah.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, all of our covers, we have no covers. So we had to come up with, we were scrambling to come up with new covers every month. Because it's like, is this thing that we had planned for, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? And then it's like, crap, it's not happening. We got to move things around, figure things out. We've just been doing double issues. Like, we just decided yesterday that instead of doing separate August and September, we were going to do August, September together.
Mm-hmm.
We're really just struggling to find the content.
Yeah.
I mean, unless we want every issue to be coronavirus.
and getting advertisers too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
when people aren't going out anyway to anywhere, why would I spend money on? Yeah, it's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, it's so. I mean, we're still going, and it kind of saves us money as well with printing if we're printing every other month instead of every month. So we're gonna do August and September is gonna be wine.
Yeah.
And hopefully the wine festival doesn't cancel again. As far as I'm aware, they're still planning on doing
wine, or is it other spirits?
Just wine. Because then in the future I can do covers on different ones. We were actually looking at doing a soju cover. Early spring.
Seoul.
Yeah. Or maybe not soju, but like traditional Korean alcohols. Because my friend Karen was going to introduce me to the Toki soju guys. So we were going to do all that. And then, coronavirus happened and everything was, I've got November planned. I'm already working on November.
It's like, oh no, that's the other thing about working in magazines is being 2-3 months ahead all the time.
Yes. Finally. I mean, I feel like for the last year, it's kind of just been scrambling to get things done on time. Just because especially like the last 6 months, everything's been changing so rapidly.
Yeah.
And we're, so issues have been coming out late. We're scrambling to get enough content. We have like maybe 4 writers.
See, I've always had to deal with writers just not hitting their deadlines, and I end up having to write everything myself.
Yeah, that's me. The issue that just came out, the June-July issue, is pretty much mostly me, but that's just because our cover article is massive. That's why.
Well, okay.
We highlighted community groups and how they're coping in COVID. So I interviewed 14 different groups and basically wrote like 14 mini articles on each group, and that was fun. It took forever.
Oh man, that is rough.
It's a 24-page spread, I think, something like that.
I'm sure it looks great. It'll be fun to read.
It looks great. It was fun. I enjoyed talking to everybody, but then when it was like, oh crap, now I have to write this.
Yeah, to write it, but during the coronavirus times, wine is a good thing to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm already like signing up for wine tastings. I went to a natural wine tasting Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I never had natural wine before, but I'm like,
organic wine?
So basically natural wine, kind of, yeah. It's wine that is made without adding a lot of preservatives and sugar and all that stuff to the fermentation process. You just
it's a laissez-faire. Just set it and forget it.
You get the grapes, you put them in the thing, you let them stay in the thing, and then
just the skins start the fermentation. The yeast starts the fermentation in the skins. I act like I'm talking like I know what I'm talking about.
You know all about this. No, but Southside does. They do regular wine tastings now, and they do. I guess apparently they do a lot of natural wine tastings.
Oh,
I went on Sunday, and Bobby did it. Bobby Kim did it, and it was really really fun, really interesting. I felt like I learned a lot. I should have taken notes because I don't remember any of it at the moment.
Yeah, Southside Parlor, they're really good.
Yeah. So we're going to have an article on natural wine. We'll have hopefully a big feature on the New Zealand Wine Festival. And then I'm still trying to come up with other articles and features that we could do. Those are the two main ones for now. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, I don't know, maybe local producers, but I'm not sure Korean wine. Is Korean wine?
It's working. I think in Daejeon they're trying to. We're going to see something. I'm not sure if wine is going to be as big, even though there are some vineyards that exist in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
Now Brian Doe of Hand and Malt he's not doing wine, but he just made Korea's first whiskey distillery.
Ooh, that was another cover that we were going to do, whiskey. Because it was because of that, because we were that's what we were going to do for April. I forgot.
Well, April's passed.
Do whiskey for April. I'm not sure why. I was just like, we don't have anything for April. Let's do this whiskey. No, September. Last September. We were talking about doing it for last September. That's what it was. I was like, I volunteer as tribute to go do it. I'll go to the distillery. I will bite that bullet for everyone.
Yeah. Those are tough assignments.
I know
it's weird because people think, oh my God, you got to be the food guy. You get to go to these restaurants. And I was at the point, I was like, I don't want to leave the house. I'm kind of tired. I don't want to go to a restaurant and take pictures. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I got lazy.
In the thick of it, I loved going to concerts. I mean, I think there was a time, and this was when I was working at Yoneup News, because I was doing Yoneup News and Groove. Mm-hmm. And there was a time when I'm pretty sure I was going to like 7 or 8 concerts a month.
I didn't know we had that many going on.
Well, because I would get tickets to like the big shows, like Live Nation shows or something like that through Groove. But then I had also spent a lot of time when I was at the Herald writing about indie musicians and indie bands. Mm-hmm. And so I got to know a lot of the indie musicians. And so they would invite me to their shows, and they were like, we'll just put you on the guest list. And I was going to a lot of underground hip hop shows still as well. So, and they would have regular shows that I would go to every week.
I really hope this picks up. An article just came out on NPR about Korea's indie music scene.
Yes. I feel like it's a big hidden gem.
I love it. We did our K-pop Dark Side of Soul K-pop podcast. It ended up being our, hey, look, there's indie music in Korea podcast. And
did you know about that? I watched part of it, but I think I had to go do something. And
we actually have a playlist. We ended up, because I mean, I have some that I know, but Sean, the co-host, really had some stuff, and I added so much stuff to my playlist thanks to that show. I learned a lot. Honestly, there's good music.
Yeah, there's a lot. I feel kind of, because like I think back to, you know, all the bands that I used to hang out with, that I would go see regularly, and this and that, and all the concerts that I went to. And I'm like, man, I just don't do anything anymore.
I wish I never got to do that. That's a regret, is I never got to go to many concerts in my life.
I did that a lot. I got really tight from the get-go, like from my first month in Korea. I think we wandered into FF, not knowing what it was, and they had a live show going, and we ended up drinking with a bunch of the bands that were playing that night. And then I became like best friends with them. I'm still keep in touch with them.
Awesome.
I get invited to their weddings now. Like they invite me to their wedding. Like,
that's when the band's breaking up. We're doing the wedding.
They're still, Phone Booth is still together.
Good.
I don't know how many of them are married now, but they're still together. They're still making music as far as I'm aware. But yeah, Phone Booth and I think Love X Stereo are the only two I really keep in touch with regularly now.
I'm just going to indirectly drop this. Is I wish someone would do a independent Korean music podcast.
They should. I think, isn't there one already?
I haven't come up. Maybe there is one. Maybe someone can tell me about it.
I feel like there is. I just don't know if I listen to it. And
if I had time, I'd do it, but I don't have the resources to do it. I mean, I'm just a fan of music, but I don't have the resources to do it.
I feel really kind of disconnected from it now that I don't think I could do it, because there's a lot of new bands out that I don't even know of right now. I just know like the ones that I've been friends with for 12, 13 years.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. My only experience with that is I got to sing on stage with Crying Nut.
Ooh.
One time. And that's because I was just doing something with EBS at the time, and I was on stage with them at the same time. That was cool.
Have I met the entire band? I keep meeting parts of the band.
They were fun.
Them.
They were fun.
I don't think I've ever met all together, but I've met. Is it Captain Rock? Is that what he goes by?
Maybe.
You're
asking me names.
No, but like one of my oldest and dearest friends in Korea. I haven't seen her in months. This reminds me, I should message her and be like, Kyungju honey, we need to meet up. But she knows everyone. And it was because back in the day, she used to own a bar in Shincheon, and all the indie bands would come drink there. So she knows Crying Nuts. She knows Galaxy Express, and they're all like her hubes. You know, they all call her and stuff, and it's really cool. Like I used to hang out with her almost every weekend in Hongdae, and we would go to FF. We'd go see the shows at FF. And
back when Hongdae had music. It's
Hongdae's
it's like MTV. It's like back when MTV played music videos. Back when Hongdae had music, live music.
But no, like we would go out for soju and stuff, and there would always be some band would just walk up and they're like, "Oh, Kyungju, and just like
that's awesome."
She's like, "Yeah," and she knows everyone. So anytime I needed, I was like, "Oh, I need to interview a band for something." I was like, "Annie, can you set me up with an interview?" But no, what was it? Some of the guys from Crying Nut were involved in a crossover project. It was a rock hip hop crossover project called Snowball Project. This was back in 2016, I think. And that's how I met them, because we sat down and did like a big group interview with everybody. So it was like MC Meta, like the hip hop side of it was like MC Meta from Garion, Taesam, who's this really awesome female rapper.
Mm-hmm.
And then I forgot who else. This was a long time ago. But then like for the bands, they had like Crying Nut, Harry Big Button, somebody else.
That sounds really cool.
Wrote these. I gotta look up all these old articles that I wrote.
It's where the conversation meandered to. I wasn't even planning on asking you about that. But one thing I think everyone would want to know is like, okay, so even though you're not going to many places now, where do you think are the places you can listen to music these days? I mean, Hongdae is dead as far as that goes.
I don't know.
Sinchon, what's with Sinchon these days? Now, Sinchon I still think is an untapped place that could come back one day.
Yeah. Well, because like I remember, I mean, you know, I think Hongdae's been dying a slow death over, I think, a long period of time.
I go to Hongdae. I still love Hongdae, but I go there for different reasons now.
Yeah. I typically am only in Hongdae when I have free tickets to a Live Nation show at Move Hall. I think the last time I was there, I went to go see Mumford and Sons.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
That was probably one of the best shows I saw all year in 2019. It was amazing.
That's really cool. I saw it. Yeah. What about Mule?
See, what have I been there? I've been to
I heard there was like a heavy metal scene there or something.
Yeah, there, because I think Vans would do like a big music competition where 4 or 5 bands would play, and then like the top 3 by audience vote would get to play in the big Vans festival thingy that they were doing every year. And they did it in Mole at, was it Skunk Hell? I think
that sounds right.
Which was, it's like a kind of hard rock punk sort of. Yeah. Normally, that's normally
I'm also hearing that Mule's been gentrifying too.
Yeah, it's kind of everywhere.
I'm kind of wondering if maybe Shilin. I lived in Shilin for a short while, and there was a little bit of live music I stumbled into when I lived there. Now, that was a long, long time ago, but part of me just keeps feeling like
forever, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, my thinking is that the location is near Seoul National University. It's near Seoul Day. Mm-hmm. See, Hongdae was big because it was near Hongik University. Sinchon is by Iwa. Yeah. And Seoul Day, I mean, you don't go to Sadang. Sadang is right next to Seoul Day, but that's the Ajashi playground there.
Yeah, I don't ever hear anybody hanging out there.
Yeah, even though it looks cool every time you go by Sadang on the bus or something at night and like, oh my God, this looks like Las Vegas. And
let's go.
Like, it's just, it's soup. Okay. Yes, let's go out for soup.
Let's go have soup. Of course, nowadays it's like, yes, soup. Who wants to drink until 4 a.m? Let's go have soup.
Yeah, that's it. I know. You live here long enough. It's that way.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of places, because like I live in Gyeonggi-dan, and I know a lot of places in HBC still do live music. Mm-hmm. Like Philly's basement, they redid the entire basement so that they could actually do shows there.
That's great.
So they do drag shows on Thursday nights, and then on the weekends they'll do bands or DJ sets or something.
Cool.
And now something that just recently opened was the Studio HBC. It used to be Camerata. Yeah. They completely renovated, and it's now separate. It's now separate. Ryan, the guy who runs Camerata, it's still his thing. I think he owns it or something, but it's separate from Camerata. And the interesting thing about that is that their whole thing is they're all about the performance first. So they're a performance hall or a live performance venue that happens to have a bar. So they want people coming in for the music, for whatever show is going on. And then, you can buy drinks while you're there. So the focus is on, they have a really nice light setup. Their sound system is really great. And they're open to any kind of performance. They've been doing bands a lot on the weekends. So I think Friday and Saturday nights, they mostly do bands. Sunday night they do a comedy open mic. And then like they want to get like burlesque shows, drag shows, plays. You could actually do like a play there.
Wow.
As long as it's not like a big massive production.
I would try to find a venue to do regular Rocky Horror Picture shows.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they did that this year.
Yeah. I mean regular, like I used to do Rocky every Saturday.
Yeah, isn't that is that Soul Players?
That's Soul Players.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But something that just recently started up that I am going to be hosting. Twice a month, we're going to do musical nights where we're going to show, because they have a huge project screen. And we're going to show musicals that have been made in, not like the movies, but musicals that have been filmed.
The stage ones. I mean, it's really rare that the filmed version just matches the stage version.
Yeah, I don't think so. We started it out.
I think what Music Man. I'm trying to think of what's better. What movie? I'm sorry, you got me thinking of. I'm thinking the stage version is like JC Superstar. No, actually, the stage version with the Spice Girl is actually pretty good.
Of what?
Of JC Superstar.
Jesus Christ Superstar. I didn't know this was a thing. I'm gonna have to look this up.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I knew
the stage version of Phantom is much better than the movie Phantom.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, Lindsay Ellis, YouTuber Lindsay Ellis, has like a 45-minute video breaking down everything that's wrong with the movie.
Oh my God. No, but just this last week we did Hamilton.
Yeah, cool.
So because of social distancing, they can only allow, I think it's like 30 people tops.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to sign up in advance to go. Just because so that they can keep all the records, like, because since they are like a live venue, they have to follow the government's like high risk. So you have like a QR code sign in and temperature check and all of that. And
you got to tell me, come on now, that was a wasted opportunity if you didn't have special Hamilton shots.
Oh, there were so many shots that night. I mean, Friday night, Thursday night, not so much because I had to work the next day.
Yeah.
So but we had a drinking game that we did Friday. And it was basically, cause like I was hosting, but I was sitting kind of at a back table with my 3 friends.
Yeah.
And it was basically up to us 3. We would just shout out drink when one of the rules came up.
That's what's fun about these types of things. Yeah.
Yeah, because it wasn't a super long list, but I didn't have a chance to print it out to put on each table. So I put it in the Facebook event page, but I'm like, nobody's going to like have that open and keep checking it. But I had like the list in my phone. So I kind of would just like look at it, but everybody around, like the tables around us, we really got into it. So like anytime there was like, they mentioned Virginia, somebody would be like, drink. Virginia would be one. Yeah. Yeah. It's like anytime somebody said, I'm not going to, oh my God.
Anytime there's a song in Hamilton where they're
throwing away my shot. Anytime somebody said that, you had to take a drink.
Anytime
so there were a lot of songs where we're like, hold on. You would say it like 5 times.
Oh yeah. They do it over and over. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But anytime they're introducing a character, it's like there's so many songs that introduce a character. It's like from the beginning, this is Alexander Hamilton, and then Eliza and Peggy. They're always.
Oh, that was another one. Anytime you heard Aunt Peggy, they're like, take a drink for poor Peggy.
Poor Peggy.
Anytime like the 2 main Schuyler sisters, if they made you cry, you had to drink. So like the second act, we're just sitting there like.
Oh no! Yeah, it is very cryy.
We're just like crying into our cups.
Yeah.
Like
it's good. It's good.
And then we did like trivia and music trivia, and I dressed up in a kind of like I looked kind of like I could have been a background dancer.
Doing your cosplay again? Okay.
Yeah, actually, it was a last minute thing. I wasn't going to do it, and my friend's like, "You need to dress up in Hamilton," and I'm like, "I don't have anything." Just like Emma. you're in a burlesque troupe. How many corsets do you have?
That is true. Yeah.
So I ended up throwing something together, and it worked out really well. It actually fit, but
good.
But now it's a thing. Now I showed up, and Ryan's like, you kind of got to do a costume every time now.
Yeah, no. Now you're stuck with this. So what's the next show?
Newsies.
Oh, well, that's not too hard. You're doing the stage, not the Christian Bale one.
Yeah, we're doing the stage version. They just recently.
Don't ask me how I know this stuff.
Yeah, no, they just recently filmed with Jeremy Jordan is the lead.
Ah.
I've seen it, so it's actually really good. I like it.
I remember the original movie when it came out because I'm a big fan of anything Alan Menken.
Yes.
Yeah.
We took a vote, and it was either going to be Newsies or Rent.
Yeah, Newsies.
And we ended up they ended up voting for Newsies, I think.
Yeah.
So now I got to come up with a Newsies drinking game and a Newsies trivia, and I have to show up looking like a Newsie.
It still sounds like so much fun. You have so many things you're doing. You're editing a magazine. Mm-hmm. You're doing this. You're reading, making the news, and reading the news. So just what type of drugs are you taking to keep yourself from sleeping?
Just a lot of coffee. So much coffee.
What's your magic juice?
So much coffee. And honestly, during the week, because my work hours for my day job it's 8 to 5, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Mm-hmm. So oftentimes it's a lot easier now because not a lot of stuff is going on anyway during the week. Mm. But I tend to not go out much during the week. Because honestly, I get home around 6, and by the time I'm finished with dinner, I'm usually passed out on the sofa.
Just do it. Yeah,
that's 9.
Girl, you're getting old. That's what it is. You're just getting old. That's how it is.
Yeah, it's like you hit your 30s, and you just don't have the same energy that you do.
Honestly, that's why I was like, I found towards the end, just going to restaurants for articles is such a chore. It's like I really, at the end of the day, I just want to go home. I don't want to have to plan going to a restaurant and doing that stuff.
And I'm very bad at when I go out on a weeknight, even if I know, okay, you need to get your butt home by 10 or 11 at the latest because you got to wake up between 5:30 and 6:30, depending on how lazy you feel. And it's like, I look at my watch and I'm like, holy cow, it's midnight. What happened? Because I just get so caught up. And talking to people and having fun. I'm like, I gotta go, guys. And then it still takes me another hour to get home.
I can't just phone it in. How would people find out about the musicals? What?
Follow the Studio HBC on Facebook. And all of the information is going to be posting there. We'll put up an event page. And we'll probably, obviously, we'll probably promote it through Groove Korea too. So just, follow the Studio HBC on Facebook, and because they regularly, they're doing stuff there every weekend, and they're very good about keeping on top of, okay, this is who's going to be doing what this weekend. And we try and get the event pages up a good 2 or 3 weeks before.
Oh, okay. That's plenty of time.
Yeah. Well, because it's because there's a lot of things that are booked at the studio in advance, so it's kind of just fitting it in where there's a hole. But we're planning on doing it twice a month on Friday nights. Because I would like to be able to take part in the drinking games and not have to worry about waking up and going to work the next day. That
sounds fun. When I'm drinking again, maybe I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah. We had so much fun. I think.
You know what? I could do drinking games without alcohol. I'll be fine. I can do.
Yeah. Just, with your water. You'll do better than you'll remember all the rules, I think.
Yeah.
More than anybody else. I think by the end of Hamilton, we were just randomly shouting drink because we couldn't remember.
Drink.
Drink. So he's like, but that wasn't just drink. No, and then, well, at that point, Eliza's just making you cry for like the last, third of the second act. So you're just like, just drink. But Newsies will be fun because I know a lot about news.
All right, we're going really into the musical theater. I was going to go into current events and stuff. Okay, so our mayor committed suicide. Okay, we're done.
Yeah. News.
No, that's kind of sad. But it's controversial. Okay, what's your take on it really fast? Hot take.
About the mayor's suicide?
Yeah.
Well, personally, I think it was like, whoa, such a change. But we've been talking about a lot at work, and I've been talking about it with other people.
So you're in the news, so you could have some insight on what people are talking about.
Yeah, I was kind of completely thrown for a loop.
Yeah.
Because first somehow they managed to keep the sexual harassment complaint. Because it was filed on Wednesday, but nobody knew about it until
only some people only my hardcore longtime journalism friends knew anything about this.
Yeah, like it wasn't in any of the media as far as I'm aware. Not until he was reported missing. And I remember Thursday night I walked into Hamilton and Ryan was like, "Did you hear about the mayor?" I'm like, I got off work at 5. Anything that happens between 5 p.m. and 8 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's my blackout news because I got to have that moment where I'm away and I disconnect. Yeah. But I was shocked. He was like, "Oh, he's missing." And I'm like, "What do you mean he's like missing? Did somebody like kidnap him? How does the mayor go missing?"
Yeah.
And then obviously, the next morning, we all found out, but we were all kind of thinking, it was like, oh, well, they think he might have gone off and committed suicide. I'm like, but his COVID-19 wasn't that bad. Like, I thought for some reason.
No, he did fairly well. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, but I thought he did a decent job with COVID. He said some cringy things with the Itaewon cluster and was basically threatening to out, all the gay people. That was not so great. But I'm like, I didn't think it's anything worth like killing yourself over. And he's like, well, no, apparently one of his former secretaries had, filed a sexual harassment. And I'm like, what? I thought I never really felt strongly one way or another about Park Won-soon. He was just the mayor. I thought he was doing, a decent job.
Compared to the previous two, he was doing pretty fine.
Yeah, I thought he was doing pretty well. I certainly didn't see him as the sort of revered saint that we're kind of seeing a lot.
Yeah, so what is that mood? This is what it was. I was doing a tour on Saturday. And I thought we'd go through City Hall just so that the guests could see what was going on.
Right.
And right next to us, these two Ajimas got into a fight and they had to get the police.
Oh my gosh.
Right next to us.
Oh my. Yeah, I feel like it's bringing out a lot of extremes in people. Mm. So on the one hand, you have like, the right-wing group, and they're all like, hey, yeah, we need to investigate, which is like, it's probably like the first time I think I've ever seen a conservative politician who's like, we need to investigate sexual assault. And I'm like, of course. What?
Of course.
When has this ever happened?
Yeah, they're really going to open up the door on them. So it's like, yeah, you really want to go down this road.
But then on the other side, you have like the other extreme with certain progressives who are just like, it's all a conspiracy, the sexual assault didn't really happen. And I'm just like,
yeah, well, we're apart. But I've seen personally so many people, I wouldn't say heroes, but people I respected fall from grace.
Yeah. Well, and I think especially being from America, we're it's kind of something we're used to seeing at this point, with the whole Me Too movement. It's
that, but even before then, I mean, I was a political junkie. I mean, I used to work in politics, but I've seen like people like John Edwards and Anthony Weiner. I mean, these guys were like really, really big in political circles, really innovative. People thought, okay, they're going to run for president or something, and then
they're going to do something great. Yeah. And then they have these very dramatic fall for graces.
And it's like, oh,
yeah. So
now I'm embarrassed I supported you. Oh,
yeah. And I think we're seeing a lot of that because a lot of people did really like Park Won-soon.
Yeah.
He was seen.
I thought he was fine. I liked him. I thought he was pretty.
I liked him. I thought he was cool. I was talking today with one of my coworkers, and they said, I've actually met him on several occasions, and they're like, and it was, he gave me like a very honest and brutal. They're like, to be honest, he was kind of an asshole. Like,
oh, really? I met him once, and he was nice.
Yeah, I think he met him like it wasn't like a big publicity thing where, cameras and everybody was watching. It was a little bit more of like a private sort of not in like the big public eye sort of thing. So he was probably, and he was like, it wasn't so much, it's like, it was just, you see it a lot in men of that age, whether they're, conservative or progressive, they kind of have this sort of entitlement to them. And he's like, and he had that. And he wasn't any different from any other sort of Korean agency in that sort of respect. And they're like, yeah, he did great things as mayor. Thought he was a good mayor. But I certainly didn't think he was a saint. And I'm like, well, I did not know this. Now I know. But I think, and it could have just also been like that particular meeting. Maybe he was having a bad day.
Maybe so. But I've also heard, I mean, I'm not sure if this has been coming up a lot, but it said maybe like 15 people under his watch committed suicide, like part of his staff.
Yeah, I read about that too.
Before that. And so that's just all coming out now that he was such a hard slave driver with his staff.
Yeah, I've been hearing that too. And it's because like I had posted something about that on Facebook. I was like, I just read this from this person over here who is like a respected professor who studied things.
I think our circles coincide quite a bit.
Yeah. And one of my Korean friends like messages me, is like, I think that you've been reading right-wing conspiracy theories.
Oh, is that what it is?
She's like, you just need to be really careful. And I'm like, she's like, be really careful websites you get this from. And I'm like,
yeah, true. Well,
like, yeah, okay.
Nah. I mean, then again, we're not, I mean, okay, I'll give another side example. This week, my wife, sent me something on Kakao as a video of what they said was a scientist from China who escaped China because she had information that China created the coronavirus, like in a lab. And then she shows it to me, but it shows that it's a Korean package. But when they show the video of the woman, she's being interviewed on Tucker Carlson. Oh, and it's and then she's only showing her on Fox News, and I'm looking to see if there's any interviews with her on any other network, and I was like,
if she's only doing interviews with Fox,
only one. If you're only doing it with one network, just be a little bit suspicious about where you're getting.
Yeah, like, and yeah, it's true. Especially today's age, you do have to really be careful about where you get your news and double checking your, and as journalists, it's an even more difficult time, I think, to be a journalist now because you really have to double check your sources. But you still have that sort of, we have to get it out right now. And like, well, crap, how am I supposed to meet with Deep Throat in the the parking garage if you like want me to write this in 2 seconds.
Yeah, that's true.
And I really think the 24-hour news cycle kind of ruined the news industry a little bit.
that and then the blogs. I mean, not the internet news.
Yeah.
Getting the first ones out there, being the first ones out there.
Yeah, everybody wants to be the first one. Everyone wants to be the one breaking the news. And unfortunately, the side effect with that is that sometimes, the wrong information gets out there. People.
Yeah. I mean, I got accused for jumping the gun about, speculating that Park Won-soo was dead when he was missing. So I took my stuff down when people were saying I was jumping the gun on that.
Not gonna lie, that's where I went as well. As soon as they were like, he's missing, he canceled all of his appointments. Nobody's seen him all day or something. His daughter reporting him missing. I'm like, I bet he went off into the mountains and committed suicide.
Yeah, and so I was hearing on my lines that they were saying that he was found dead, and so I right away on Seoul Podcast, Twitter and Facebook page, I said, "Hey, he reports that he's found dead." I didn't say he was. I said there were reports, and
people are reporting that he's been found.
I was being accused of spreading rumors, and so I.
And a few hours later, they're like, "Guess what? He's dead."
I was right. One time I was right. Yeah.
Like, I'm not happy that I'm right, but I'm right.
I don't want to be right, but I'm right.
I don't want to be right. Yeah. I think for me, the way that I look at it, because it's an interesting thing for me, because I look at it from the news perspective, but I also kind of look at it, it's really hard for me to divorce like my personal experience from that, because I'm also a survivor. And it's like, I can't completely separate those two things when I look at a situation like this.
Right.
And for me, I just felt a lot of frustration, because this victim is never going to have a chance for an investigation and for the truth to fully come out in a format that people would actually be like, okay, I believe this. Yeah. Because, he's dead. So there's no police investigation. You can't put a dead guy on trial.
Yeah.
So now she's just kind of left in this sort of weird limbo, which is no fun for anyone to be in.
Not fun, and might hurt her career anyways.
Yeah, it could hurt. Already people are trying to dox her, and she's being vilified by a lot of Park Won-soo supporters, and it's just like, poor woman. So all of my sympathy really goes to her, and then to his family, because that's kind of a crappy thing to do to your family.
Yeah, I agree.
And a part of me feels like he did it because maybe he wanted to save his family from having to go through a trial.
It helped No Mu Yun.
So, that's for me, that was kind of like the logical place that I went, that I'm like, he didn't want to put his family through a trial, so that's why I did it.
Yeah.
And I do kind of feel like it was, in a way, I feel like it was kind of an admission of guilt.
A lot of people felt that way. Yeah, you don't do that.
I'm not the only one. This is not like groundbreaking, like,
yeah.
I think a lot of people, at least most people that actually everybody that I've spoken to about it so far, they're like, yeah, we totally think that it's an admission of guilt. If he were innocent, that's not kind of...
Yeah, would that clear your reputation? Someone posted on Facebook, and I'm just repeating them. Think about, what if in the early days when Bill Cosby was being accused of what he was doing, what if he committed suicide soon after, right at that point, before more investigations and Me Too's came out?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. What would have happened then? But that was American culture. That's. But people are playing these different. What's the word I'm looking for? Thought games.
Right. Yeah.
Different scenarios of during all this. Because I think we're just trying to predict what's going to happen with Park's legacy already.
I think that's like I think that's where a lot of conflict is starting up, because I mean, you see a lot of park supporters who are like, just because of this one thing, it doesn't mean that we should completely toss out all the good things that he did.
Yeah.
And like, I can see that perspective. But at the same time, it feels very strange to get to see him, kind of like almost hero worship.
Yeah, the hero worship is extreme. Yeah, that's extreme. That's when you're just blind and you make mistakes.
Yeah,
when you do
and
that.
I'm kind of like, did he really need a 5-day funeral? I mean, I feel like that was a little... But at the same time, there was no precedent for that because he was the first mayor to actually die in office. So they were just like 5-day mayoral funeral. And I'm like,
and so what? But is he going to go down Sejongno? That's the big thing.
It's already over.
It's already done.
Yeah,
I've not been paying attention.
It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Wait, that was not 5 days.
No. But did they close down Sejongno? Because I was there. I saw the wake on Saturday.
Yeah. Because supposedly yesterday was the last day, and I'm like, wait a minute, Friday, Saturday.
But it was a wake. It wasn't an actual like carrying a coffin or anything.
Yeah, no, it's not like it's not like where he's lying in state somewhere.
Okay, because
I think they just meant that
they would do that. Like they would do that. They would take you down. They would go down Sejongdo, the street.
Yeah, I think they might have done that because the big service was yesterday at City Hall.
Okay.
And they moved him from the hospital where he was at to City Hall, and they might have taken him through Sejong.
Okay.
I didn't watch it. I was editing articles. I was working.
That's what happens when you're in the news, man.
Yeah, but it was like really early. They did the service at like 8:30 yesterday morning.
Yeah.
And then immediately after that, they took him from City Hall to the crematory, and then they did like a family-only cremation service, which I discovered yesterday. That is a thing that almost every single Korean does.
The family-only cremation?
They have like the family is there to watch. Well, I don't think they literally watch, but they're there.
Yeah, but they're there.
I was like, oh, that's interesting. Because that's our November issue is funeral trends and death culture.
Wow, Dark Side of Groove. All right.
Dark Side of Groove, yeah. So I've been doing a lot of research, and it was like, cool, I'm going to write that down. Like, so does every Korean do that? And my friend's like, yeah, but every Korean gets.
If you've ever been to a funeral here, and
I have not.
Well, good.
Yeah. Mostly, I mean, unfortunately, there's been a few opportunities for me to go, but I didn't because it was right after my mom died, and I was just like,
yeah.
I can't do funerals, guys. Can't do funerals.
I don't do weddings. I don't do funerals if I can help it. I don't do farewell parties. That's my big thing. I don't do farewell parties.
There's too many. You would be at a farewell party every week.
Almost. Yeah, it's too many of them.
It's too many. I do birthdays. I like birthdays.
Birthdays are fine. Yeah, actually, I've done birthdays, and actually, I did do one farewell party last year. But generally, but the reason is generally farewell parties tend to be see you sucker parties. You notice there's a stage as people go when they're leaving Korea, as they start trying to emotionally distance themselves from Korea, and they're thinking about their next move. And so by that time they start cutting all ties, and they start thinking of Korea in a negative light, and it's kind of like, see, suckers, I'm leaving. I don't want to be around people like that.
No, I would probably be like running around hugging everybody, like, 5 last times.
God, I don't think I would.
I honestly can't think about leaving Korea, so I'm just like, stay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess somehow we got from Park Monsoon to that. I don't know.
Farewell party. Yeah, 5-day farewell party. Yeah.
5-day farewell party. Yes, for Park Monsoon. That's
yeah.
Somebody's gonna hate us for that.
Both our listeners are gonna hate us.
Oh my gosh, sorry guys. Yeah, no, but I mean, and that was like another big controversy. A lot of people were like, they shouldn't have done a 5-day funeral, and he didn't deserve it.
And there's a big war hero died around that time too, 99 years old.
Yeah, exactly. He was the first 4-star general.
But he was tarnished because he was kind of pro-Japanese in some way.
Oh, yeah, that's true. See, nobody's perfect. So
we want purity in our heroes, and you're just not going to get it.
No, there is no hero that is pure. I mean, even Mother Teresa was not a very good person.
Oh, yeah. Christopher Hitchens hated Mother Teresa.
I know. I had in my high school, when the graduating class, we do a big alumni parade, and the graduating class has to dress in costumes, but the class that graduated the year before chooses the costumes. And I was Mother Teresa.
Oh, you were. That's
I was
lovely.
in high school, yeah.
Aww.
So my best friend was a Hooters waitress, and I was Mother Teresa. So we walked down the parade arm in arm. Like, we're gonna own it. We're gonna own it.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
That sounds great.
Oklahoma. Oh,
people don't know. Oklahoma. People don't know the flyover has stuff going on. You know.
They do alumni every year, and I have not been back since 2016. So I feel like I'm overdue to go back for a alumni.
I'm overdue for alumni stuff, but it's been like almost 30 years for me. So, oh my God, I'm that old.
I have to wait a minute. Oh, I'm getting close to 3 more years. It'll be 20. Yeah,
it's it comes really fast. Comes really fast.
I'm not that old. I'm that
no,
old.
You're not. No, you're not. And the older you get, you realize how young older people are.
Yes, this is very true.
Have you seen 80-year-old Tina Turner?
My goodness.
She is hot.
She's still got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I remember being in like my teens and thinking like, oh my gosh, 30s are so old. Like your life is over in your 30s.
Yeah. I remember in my 20s, I was like considering dating a 30-year-old. I'm like, ooh, man.
Wow, why would
that's
I do
so
that?
old.
Of course, I'm in my 30s and I'm like, why would I date somebody in their 20s?
Yeah, that too.
No younger men for me.
Nope. So now everyone knows Emma's partner choice as far as rotations around the sun go. We're going to wrap it up. Let's wrap it up today. Let's have you back. Otherwise,
I feel like we might just talk forever.
It will. We only do that with Michael Hurt, but
I can understand. Yeah. I love Mike.
Yeah. Okay, so let me wrap it up, everyone. Emma Kalka, you can find her on KBS World.
Mm-hmm.
You can add that to your Google Morning thing. It's really cool. You can listen to her. Groove Magazine. Check out all of her writings. I mean, she runs the whole show there, basically.
I do things.
Yeah. Also, HBC.
The Studio HBC. If you're interested in musical nights, if you want to come to one of my musical nights, the Studio HBC will be posting everything there.
Are you still doing burlesque?
Yes, it's just with COVID, we haven't been able to do any shows.
Yeah.
We've done a few virtual shows. I've filmed 2 acts, one for a White Lies show, and then one for an international virtual show.
Yeah.
But outside that, we meet up twice a month now because without shows, there's really no point in having rehearsals.
But you're with White Lies.
Yeah, I'm with White Lies. So hopefully we'll be back soon. In the meantime, I just get bored and like pack up my bag and my makeup, and I end up over at Rabbit Hole, and when nobody's there, and I like film a burlesque act and pop it on the internet. It's like, why not? I'm not performing anywhere else. I'll just do that instead.
You're fascinating. You're so fascinating.
Do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, you do. You do. You're quite ambitious.
Wait, variety is the spice of life. So I just keep a very big variety of things in my life.
All right. Well, thank you so much for showing up. Remind everyone, please subscribe. You can, hit like and subscribe. And we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Seoul podcast. If you want more stuff, we can do it. Please give us feedback. We're also on facebook.com/Seoul podcast. We're on Twitter at King Sejong. Yes, King Sejong runs our Twitter account. Yep. We're on there. So thank you so much, Emma, for being on the show today.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I'm excited. I finally got to do it.
All right, everyone. Until next time, stay safe.
The Seoul Podcast is produced by Joe McPherson and is copyrighted 2020 by Zen Kimchi International under the Creative Commons license. Parts of this podcast may be used for non-commercial purposes if you remember to give us credit. You can contact us at sejong@seoulpodcast.com. That's SEJONG@seoulpodcast.com. For a transcript of this episode, listen to it again and write down what you hear. Please support us at patreon.com/Seoul Podcast.